Hi everyone, it's Rachel from Homework Solutions. Welcome to the APNA Summit. Hopefully I already know you, but if I don't, feel free to reach out to me or to Franny. We'd love to get to know more about your agency. For everyone though, we have some resources we've uploaded to the Google Drive. We have some 2024 specific total comp information there, which is great because a lot of things changed this year. We also have some basics there for you as well. If you need something more specific, like say a specific state tip sheet, by all means, just drop me an email. My email address is Rachel, RACHEL, at homeworksolutions.com. Have a great conference.
Hello, and welcome to the APNA Virtual Sales Summit. We are each going to share with you some tips on bringing in sales. I'm going to start with questions to ask, and Sarah from the Washburn Agency is going to tackle objections and the upsell. And then Eugenia with District Sitters is going to finish us off with using social media to promote sales. We'll all be available after for questions. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ginger, and I founded ABC Nannies in Denver, Colorado. Today, I'd like to share my recipe for a successful sales call. If you can remember just this one thing, it's be curious. Get to know the person you are calling and ask lots of questions. In doing so, you're going to build rapport and trust. I'm going to share what questions I like to ask that help me get the business and in turn help me make the placement. Doing sales calls is one of my favorite things in running a business. I think it's because I truly like to help people. I'm sure you all feel the same exact way, which is why you're in this service-based industry. Now, when you call, I want to hear your smile. Yes, smile. They can hear it along with your energy level. Know when you're at your best and try to do calls during those hours. If you need to, put a smiley face on your monitor so you don't forget. Before any call, you want to be prepared. Next slide, please. Most of us have prospects that fill out a form online where we get to know them a little bit. You probably have them fill out the most important questions like their name, location, age of child or children, and when they need someone. It's great to use the children's name if they've provided them, and use their name at least 3 times and make sure you're saying it correctly. If you have any doubt, ask. They'll appreciate the effort. We are not in a hard sales industry. In fact, there are many families you should not take on. At ABC, we use the Sandler sales strategy. That means building a relationship call. We are building rapport and letting the prospect know that we want to see if we're the right fit for them, and we may not be. If they're looking for something we know we can't provide, let them know and guide them. Set their expectations to be realistic. Often this gets us the business because they know we truly have the experience and knowledge to guide them. How did you hear about us? If they put this on the inquiry, you still want to ask this question. For example, if you saw that they were referred by Sonia, you might want to say, hey, I see that you heard about us through Sonia. How do you know Sonia? Is she a neighbor? And then they might provide you information that will help you build rapport. Ask a lot of open-ended questions. They should be doing most of the talking during a sales call. Probably the most telling and great question is just tell me what you're looking for and let them go. And then you might want to ask, tell me about your children. Everyone likes to talk about their kids. So you'll probably get a lot of information about what kind of family they're like. And ask probing questions like, if they say they want someone experienced, what does that mean to you? How many years of experience would make you feel comfortable in the person you hire? By asking the right questions, you're setting the expectations. Other key questions, timeline they need to hire someone. Obviously, this is really important because if they say they needed someone yesterday and it's going to take a while, this gives you the opportunity to really dive into how long it takes to find a good nanny. And then another good question is how long do they think they're going to need someone to stay? If it's just until they get into daycare in 6 months, again, a really good thing to know. But if they're a family that wants a long-term nanny, this is an opportunity to staff a career nanny in their position and hopefully get someone that will be with them for the next 4 or 5 years. Hours they need someone, obviously really important. If they want someone for 10 hours, we probably aren't going to be able to help them, or you might want to steer them to your sitter service. What job responsibilities are important to them, and then sharing with them, what's a typical nanny do to educate them on what they can expect. I'm still asking the COVID vaccination question because the last thing I want to happen is have a nanny place with a family, and then the first week they find out she didn't get any vaccinations, and then the placement gets blown up. You don't want that to happen. So asking those questions up front is really important. Maybe not in your first sales call, but definitely during your consultation. I do like to ask if they've ever had a nanny before, if they have older children. That gives you an idea if they're a chronic hire, they've had 10 nannies in the last year. Again, maybe not a job I want to take on. I want to learn about their experience and in turn learn about them. And what is their budget? Sharing with them your community's average rates to make sure they're within those rates and can afford it. Okay, next slide, please. After you listen and ask all the right questions, make sure you tell them what you've heard so they understand that you understand their needs. At this time, circle back, tell them more about your agency. Let them know what makes your agency unique. So I might say something like, Mary, let me tell you a few things about why families choose ABC. In addition to being the most experienced agency with over 30 years of experience, we're also the largest with 8 people who will answer the phone calls and be available. I also share with them that over 60% of our nannies and families are repeat or referrals from other nannies, which gives them a bigger pool to choose from. We have a large reach, and nannies are constantly checking in to see what jobs we have available for them. Also, when you register with ABC Nannies, we waive the enrollment fee for our sitter service for the first year. So think about what your differentiators are, what makes your agency unique, and make sure you include that in your sales call. But again, I do that towards the end, so I have already kind of developed a rapport with the family, and hopefully they're listening. And then, of course, you want to ask them if they have any other questions. Hopefully they will ask how they can get started with you, which is the goal of the sales call. I find that a successful sales call usually lasts about 20 minutes. Now, Sarah is going to take it away and tell you about the upsell and tackling objections. Sarah?
Thanks so much, Ginger. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I am Sarah Washburn, and I founded the Washburn Agency in 2007. Over the course of my career, I have navigated through numerous objections during client calls. And today I'm excited to share insights into overcoming not just outright objections, but also addressing concerns and hesitations that potential clients may have about your service. We all know that objection handling is a natural part of the sales process, but it can pose a significant hurdle in securing a client. You might even be tempted to accept the objection and end the call right away, but it is crucial to learn how to both identify and resolve these concerns if you're going to be successful. So what are some of the things your clients might object to? I polled the agency community, and these are some of the common objections that I heard. We'll work through these together a little bit later because as agency owners, it is important to have a strategy in place so you and your staff can address these objections. Can you proactively work a couple of these into your sales call before the client is able to bring them up? While it's not feasible to address all the objections in your pitch, one easy one to incorporate that Ginger already spoke about is, what do you do differently than I can do on my own, or what sets you apart from your competitor? When objections do arise, it isn't the time to give up. It's time to reemphasize the value of your service. And if the client does bring up a specific objection, be a good listener and be empathetic. Acknowledge the client's concern and show that you understand their perspective, which will help in building rapport and trust. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is being quick to argue with the client rather than to understand where they're coming from. Ask questions. Make sure you really understand what their concern is. Can you come up with an idea or a strategy to help change their mind? A few suggestions on how to overcome some of the common objections we heard.
I have to pay overtime?
Yes, Ginger, you do have to pay overtime. And we recognize the additional financial commitment in paying overtime. However, the IRS has classified nannies as non-exempt hourly employees, which means legally they are entitled to overtime after 40 hours per week. Nannies also spend a lot of time with other nannies and talk about industry standards and laws regarding domestic workers, so they will be aware of this law. If you decide not to pay overtime, the nanny could also file a wage suit against you, which could be time-consuming and costly for your family.
But my friends pay their nannies less than that.
I do appreciate your perspective, and it's not uncommon to hear variations in compensation within different households. There are many factors that influence nanny pay rates, such as experience, qualifications, job responsibilities, and even regional differences in living costs. At the Washburn Agency, we prioritize fair compensation that reflects the expertise and dedication of our candidates. Our goal is to ensure that you receive excellent candidates who will feel appreciated and in turn will remain with your family long term.
So I don't understand, Sarah. We have to pay the nanny even when we don't use them, like if we go on vacation?
You do. So, and we understand how frustrating it can be to pay the nanny when they don't work, but guaranteeing the hours is a mutually beneficial practice that ensures stability for both your family and your nanny. By offering the guaranteed number of hours, you're securing the nanny's commitment to be available during the scheduled times. And this commitment is crucial for maintaining a consistent and reliable childcare arrangement. In return, the nanny relies on this commitment for financial stability as it allows her to plan their schedule and income effectively. Without a guarantee, the nanny may need to seek additional employment or may not always be available for the specific hours you need each week. This agreement will foster a trusting and dependable relationship, benefiting both parties in the long run.
Wow, your fee is high.
I'm surprised to hear that you feel the fee is high. We have found that our fee is representative of the top tier nanny agencies across the country. It also reflects the level of service and commitment we bring to the table. We are dedicated to delivering top-notch assistance in matching you with the most qualified household staff. Our service is an investment in the peace of mind that comes with having trustworthy and exceptional individuals supporting your family.
Well, what if the nanny leaves us?
So we do understand that finding the right fit is crucial, and unforeseen circumstances can, of course, arise. At the Washburn Agency, we have a comprehensive replacement policy in place to address such situations. If you feel that the nanny isn't the right fit for your family, or if they decide to leave within the first 60 days, we're committed to working with you to find a suitable replacement. Our goal is to ensure your satisfaction and the seamless integration of household staff into your family life. We'll guide you through the process of finding a new candidate, making the transition as smooth as possible. So while many clients will have obvious objections, it is equally crucial to pay attention to the subtle, quieter objections that might surface during your discussions. Take note if they share experiences from previous arrangements, especially with their last nanny. By actively listening and addressing these subtle cues early on, you have the opportunity to proactively navigate potential objections before they become significant concerns. Anticipating and resolving these underlying issues demonstrates your attentiveness and commitment to understanding and meeting the unique needs and expectations of each of your clients. For example, maybe the client has commented that their last nanny called out sick all the time. You could say something like, I appreciate you sharing your experiences and completely understand that dealing with frequent absences from your previous nanny has probably left you with concerns about reliability in your next nanny. But you can rest assured that we have rigorous selection process and thorough reference checks. We specifically inquire about a candidate's track record for attendance and reliability to ensure that we're matching you with a nanny who has proven history of consistent and dependable service. We are committed to not only meeting, but exceeding your expectations in providing a reliable and dedicated nanny. So overcoming objections is not always a bad thing. You should consider this not only as a way to address concerns, but also as an ideal opportunity for upselling. Transforming a client's initial concern or hesitation into an opportunity for a larger fee or even multiple placements can be a win-win. By diving deeper into their needs, you can highlight additional services, personalized solutions, or extended support that align with their requirements. This not only reinforces your commitment to providing comprehensive solutions, but it also positions you as a partner dedicated to exceeding their expectations. Utilizing this moment strategically allows you to not only address concerns, but also to explore and present valuable enhancements that will create a more satisfying client experience. If your client says they only need part-time and are asking why the nanny is not guaranteed to be available for full days if the kids are sick, on vacation, or all those random days off from school, you could suggest hiring a nanny family assistant. This would be a full-time position, and the nanny would be responsible for more household duties such as light housekeeping, laundry, running errands, and meal prep. Explain to the client that the key piece of this hybrid role is that they've secured the nanny's full-time availability and enhanced the position. If the client agrees, you've now turned a part-time position, which we all know can be difficult to fill, into a full-time position with a larger fee. If the client's concern is that nannies only clean up after the children, you can suggest the option of hiring a part-time housekeeper as well, which would give you a second placement and address the client's concerns around cleaning. Alternatively, for families with school-age children, propose a nanny family assistant who can balance childcare responsibilities with those light housekeeping duties. If the client's asking why most nannies don't cook family meals, take this opportunity to highlight the versatility of your services by introducing a chef or a nanny family assistant who enjoys and excels at cooking. This not only addresses the client's concern about family meals, but it also enhances the overall household experience. So depending on the services you provide, another upsell opportunity could be emphasizing the availability of your backup care services if the client's worried about what to do when the nanny is sick or on vacation. Or if the family can't afford your placement fee, this is a great time to sell your screening services for a candidate that they find on their own. Being able to successfully navigate objections is an essential skill in the world of household staffing. By addressing concerns head on and demonstrating the value of your services, you not only build trust with potential clients, but you're also set the stage for long-lasting and positive relationships. Remember, objections are not roadblocks, but rather opportunities for clarification and enhancement. When faced with objections, be an empathetic listener and understand the client's perspective, and use the moment strategically to showcase the unique benefits of choosing your agency. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that with the strategies we've discussed today, you'll be better equipped to turn objections into opportunities for success. Next, I'm thrilled to introduce Eugenia from District Sitters, who will talk about social media strategies for sales.
Thank you, Sarah. And hello, everybody. My name is Eugenia Sierro. I am the founder of District Sitter, and I'm located in Washington, D.C. Today, I would love to talk to you a little bit more about the tools that we use as an agency to create sales and really acquire more leads through social media. And so today, let me just speak a little bit more about the why. So I know that navigating social media sales in our industry can be challenging given that our target market might not always be active on these platforms. However, as small business owners, establishing a presence on social media is non-negotiable. It's not just about following trends, it's actually a powerful tool to create connection and showcasing our impactful work through various content forms. As agencies, we should recognize that we play a pivotal role in helping countless families, children, and nannies every day. By sharing our journey and expertise, we can elevate industry standards and generate more leads. In essence, social media is no longer optional, it's your modern business card and a pathway to reaching those who truly need our services. So you might be asking yourself, okay, but where do I start? Especially if you don't feel comfortable with social media or you haven't been as successful as you would like it to be. My first advice would be to start researching a little bit more of the content that maybe has worked for you in the past or content that you actually enjoy consuming or creating, something that feels genuine to you, to your brand, and to your agency is just a great starting point. After that, you can commit to a small posting goal that you can keep consistent every week. So we want to start very small and then work your way up from there. Number 3 would be to collect your most common client and candidate questions, just like Sarah and Ginger were speaking about. It's just, we get these questions all the time. It's just that because we are immersed in this industry and we sort of are, for us, it might be obvious, some of these questions. The truth is that a lot of people are still searching for these answers, and there's not a lot of information available to them. And so it's our job as experts to just share that knowledge with people. And that is really going to give you more leads and more clients that can actually do placements or use your services in general. Number 4 is to connect with other local businesses and collaborate with them through social media. That is going to create a lot of more awareness about your agency locally or even nationally, if that's what you do. And it's really going to help you as a business owner to just see what works and what doesn't. And then number 5 is just really start posting. The longer you wait, the further you fall behind. And so you're really missing out on doing and creating more sales through those social media platforms. So these are some of the examples of content that has actually generated sales for us as an agency. For those of you that might not know, we do long-term placements. We also do a lot of babysitting and on-call or backup care. And then we also do a lot of event childcare. And so we use our social media to showcase some of those services. And the content that we've seen that has more success is the content that answers those common questions, like I was mentioning. So content that is engaging and informative, content that addresses the needs and concerns of potential clients. Use those repeated questions that clients always ask on your consultation calls or even when they send you an email. And that's going to give you a huge range of content that you can create around those simple questions. Now, every content that you create should have a call to action that is simple and really easy to follow. So you can say at the end of every post or every video, just really direct them to do what you need them to do, whether that is clicking on your website or scheduling a call or sending you an email. You really want to make that easy for people who are interacting with you on your social media channels. And then the last part of the content is really using storytelling and leveraging the storytelling to humanize the agency's service, sharing success stories or testimonials to build that trust with the people that find you through social media. So I wanted to show you a little bit of an example and how we can use some of those common questions and create posts around them. So the question that I used was, what is the average nanny hourly rate in my area? That is a question that we always get on our calls or that I see people asking when they first start looking for a nanny, because that is one of their concerns, right? So if you're creating a post, let's say it's a picture, we are explaining the factors that go into a nanny's hourly rate, and then you're really sharing with them the call to action is to share this with a new or future nanny employer. So now you're asking them to share that with a friend, and you are creating sort of like a network with other people that might not see your content right away, but you're asking the people that are already following you to share that. And it's been very successful because, again, these are pieces of information that even if for us are very basic, somebody out there might really need that expert advice. And then getting within the same content or with the same question, you can create a reel. We know that video is very successful and people really like to watch that. So you can share a client story where you discuss the appropriate nanny rate for the job, just maybe sharing a little piece of your conversation, not literally, but an example of how you explain that to your clients, just the same way that you do it on your call. You can definitely create that on a video and tell them that they can schedule a call with you to discuss this further. So now you're giving them access to you or your staff, and they feel more connected and they see you as a resource to really reach out when they're starting to do their nanny search or babysitting, whatever the service is that they're looking for. I think this is very powerful. And then let's say you're doing a story, which is mostly on Instagram or Facebook. You can do stories throughout the day. You can talk about the nanny rates from your perspective and experience, give real examples with numbers, just really share that information and put it out there for your followers or for people that might be interested in this information. And then a call to action for the story could be to email us with your questions, and you should put your email address. Now, remember that you should make it very easy, sort of like a one-click thing, so that they can really be directed to contact you. And then for a blog, for example, you can expand on this, because I know that doing a post or a story or a reel, it's very short. But on a written format, you can definitely expand, and you can definitely direct people from your other posts to your blog and to your website, which is what we all want. So here I wanted to share a little example of something that has worked for us before, and I'm just sharing the insights of the post. This is a post that asks 5 questions that you can ask a nanny to understand their childcare philosophy. So as you can see, it might not look like a big number, but 14 people saved this post. And for us, that means people are really finding the post valuable. And we have 2 people that share it, maybe to a friend. So what I did was I share the other slides with examples of questions that they can ask the nanny, and they're questions that they can save and just really ask the nanny when they're doing their interviews. So for them, and then on the caption on the post, I said, please remember that you can always call us. Please schedule a call with us. And I gave them a link to do a consultation call with us, pretty much. So this is how a post can lead to a sale when you really reach the right audience and they find your content useful, and you position yourself as the expert, which you are. And then the last thing that I wanted to discuss in terms of really creating sales and acquiring more leads through social media is back to what I mentioned of creating a community within your social media channels. You should find people and local businesses that align with your values and start a conversation. Support them in their journey, show genuine interest, and make those connections. Talk about your business and your vision. There's a lot of people that have small businesses that are family-oriented or children-focused, that will likely have clients that will also need a nanny or a babysitter or any kind of childcare services that you might offer. And really, it's also about supporting them as well in your community and just really showing people that you are there for your clients and that you can actually create a huge resource list for them as an expert that you are. So here are some of the examples that we have connected with throughout the years, and it has played a huge role in us really creating more awareness about our agency, and at the end of all, just getting more sales through that. So we've connected with local mom groups and blogs, speech therapists, mom influencers, nannies, and also content creators, baby gear rental companies, and toddler music classes. So those are just some examples that you can look up in your community and just start really making friendships with those like-minded individuals that are also looking to serve families and children in your community. And you'll find that really you'll build that social media presence a little bit more strongly through them as well. So that is really all the tips that I have of little things that have worked for us through social media. I'll definitely seen how people find us and they mention social media. So it's definitely working for us. And I hope that you can use some of these examples to grow your agency and create more sales. So now after this is the end, but we will see you at the Q&A.
Fantastic, fantastic. What valuable information. I mean, we went from sales to like the objections to using social media to convert into sales. So just a lot of information that just got levied on us. I hope you all were taking great notes. I'm really excited to go ahead and jump into some Q&A with our speakers, Ginger and Eugenia, if we can all, and Sarah. we can all come on. Yes, there you are. So that we can ask these questions. And I'm going to break these down into those different divisions that you guys spoke on. Obviously, any of you can answer it, but I'm going to start with sales. So this is toward you, Ginger. If during the sales call, you determine that they are not the right fit for your agency, say there are some red flags or things like that, how do you and when would you delicately and respectfully let a family know that they are not the right fit for your agency?
So let's say they want a before and after school nanny, which is something we all know is really hard to do and we don't do it well. So if I can convert them to a family assistant, so first I'd start with the upsell, like here's what we can do. And if that is not affordable to them and that's not attractive to them at that point, I would say, we're not the right agency for everybody. I'm really sorry. I would love to help you, but I just don't think we're the right fit because we don't get those types of nannies. We don't represent nannies that can do what you're looking for. And I would kind of use that same verbiage with any objection, or if I see some red flags, like, gosh, I really loved learning about your family, but based on what you've told me, I'm just not sure we're the right agency to help you find what you need. And I might, if I have, suggestions, I would certainly pass them on.
I love that. Moving on from that, I remember when you were in your session, you talked about how you talk about yourself and some of the things that separate you and your agency. One of the questions that came in is, how do I set myself apart from other agencies if our processes are similar?
We all have similar processes, but hopefully, your staff might have something different, like your background might be like mine's in psychology. So I might talk about how that is helpful, therapy skills, I don't know, whatever you can find that's different. So you need to know your competitors and what they bring to the table. And, for us in Denver, it's, absolutely years of experience. But if it wasn't that, I would try to find something else that makes us unique.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So this is either to Ginger or to Sarah. How do you handle families that consistently change what their needs are during the interview process? For example, they start out saying they want a young nanny that will be entertaining. You find that person, then they decide they want someone with years of experience instead of agreeing to pay for it. You find them, then they decide it's not worth the pay. Do you just drop them, or how do you navigate that?
Sarah, you want to start?
Sure. I mean, we would probably charge them a change fee, see, depending on how many times they change it. But if we think it's something that we can work with, then we would absolutely just continue to make those changes. I think we're here to, keep the client happy. And I also feel, and I tell them actually in our initial call that they can continue to tweak things, because I also feel that sometimes they think of things along the way that they might not have thought of, and things that might be really important, or they've met the first candidate and they're like, ooh, I didn't really love that about her, and I'd love to see more like X, Y, and Z. And I think it just naturally changes. So, if it's not a huge change, we will absolutely continue to do the search. But if it's getting exhausting, then charge them a change fee.
Absolutely. How can you fight? Oh, so go ahead. Go ahead.
And I would add to that, like, I find that sometimes clients don't really know what they need. And so we're the experts. So we need to figure that out. So they might say, I really want someone young and, young. Well, why is that? Well, I think they'll be more active. So I might send them, that typical person they're looking for, but maybe I know they also really want someone who's experienced, savvy, blah, blah, blah. And that would be better for a 40-year-old triathlete who we have in our staff. So I would give them things they're not looking for to show them, hey, I really think I know who would be good for you. And it's this person. Yeah. And often they'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that someone who's 40 could be so active, blah, blah, blah. So
listen,
as a give them what they don't ask for.
As a 42-year-old, I fully object to this. I just want to put it out there. I so object to this.
What I'm saying is you're probably more active than most 20-year-olds,
I love it. Another question that came in regarding objections, can you provide a few examples of how to overcome price objections with clients, especially when there are cheaper options in the marketplace?
So, I would say that we always tell them that every agency, operates differently and has different pricing structure, but that, when they go with us, we are just very high touch. And then I would just go about sort of explaining, what we do differently, and encourage them to go and ask the other agencies, what do they do differently? I mean, you can touch on, whether you do references in-house, or how you vet the nanny, or do you set up the interviews for you? Like, how much of the process do you do for the family? I feel like that what we do just speaks for why we set the price.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were speaking on guaranteed hours and just different objections that clients may have, what if after explaining guaranteed hours, the client responds with, "We are fine with offering guaranteed hours as long as the nanny is flexible and can keep track of unworked hours to use at a later time when we have heavier weeks." That's okay, right? How would you handle that?
So we always tell them that banking hours is, not a very good decision and people, so the nannies don't like it. But here in Massachusetts, which is where we're located, it is actually not illegal to bank hours. You just have to have it in writing. And they can only bank, I think it's 24 hours at a time. And if they work over the 40 hours in a week, they still have to pay overtime. We don't ever normally tell a client about that. Anyway, we just say like, it's really frowned upon in the nanny community, and the guaranteed hours just gives them the ability to have that nanny there. And we never really go into that they really can, but that they, it's just not a standard practice in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So say you're handling these objections and you just find that they just keep objecting, like you're just continuing to go down this, and at every point they're continuing to object. Where do you go from there?
I mean, at some point they just might not be the client for you. If they're not going to listen to what you have to say and they just sort of have it set in their mind already what they want, they might not want to follow industry standards. They might not want to pay the appropriate rates. And if they're continuing to push back, I mean, looking further down the road, it might really be a disaster of a client that you don't want to take on. I would say learn when to cut ties.
I love that.
And it's usually when you cut ties, they want to work with you.
Yeah.
So much so. Ohenia, I have a question for you. Are there certain hashtags that you have used that seem to help drive more traffic towards you? And if so, can you share those?
Yeah, and I think that has changed throughout time. But we always focus on the kind of client that we're trying to attract, meaning, what kind of person we're trying to attract with that specific post. So we use a lot of local hashtags. For example, because I'm in Washington, D.C., I will say DC moms, Washington, DC, and things like that are very specific to us. If it's a parenting tip, we'll do parenting tips. And that has worked as well. For our events and wedding childcare, we typically try to look for, we put wedding coordinator or wedding planner, bride to be. So those have worked really well. But I think focusing on that, just being a little bit more local, really helps the post as well.
Awesome. What kind of frequency do you feel like is appropriate for an agency if they're really trying to build their following and build their client and candidate pool? Should they be posting every day? Should they be posting 3 times a week? Should they be posting once a week? What do you feel like is ideal to drive traffic?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of information about that, and it contradicts itself sometimes. But I think for us, it's a goal that you can keep consistent. So if you have the capacity to post every day, that's great. And if you have staff doing that for you, or a social media manager, that's great. But if you're running your social media by yourself or don't have a lot of resources, I would say 2 to 3 times a week, it's more than enough, as long as your content is actually of value and it's just not, a picture.
Absolutely. So I saw that on your social media, which I follow and love. You do a lot of reels and videos. How did you overcome your apprehensions, if there were any, to get in front of the camera to create those types of marketing campaigns?
Yeah, I just realized that I had to show my face more. For me, I was always nervous about saying something wrong or sounding weird, because English is my second language. So that was definitely an obstacle for me. But I just realized that makes a connection really, really powerful. So people feel like they can access myself as a resource. And that's really what I am about with my agency. I want families to know that I'm there for them. So that's how kind of the reason behind not caring so much about, what people think or how the video looks as much. Yeah.
I love that. Ginger, what if someone says, I am not a salesperson? I feel really uncomfortable. I know taking in these sales calls is a part of my business, but I don't consider myself a salesperson. What advice would you give them to be stronger and a little bit more confident in their approach?
I don't think we should be salespeople. I think we should be consultants and helpers. And I think the people we hire have those capabilities. So, you know, if you just position it as like, you're there to help someone, learn from them and see if we can help them. And we might not be able to, and that's okay. We're not there to convince them to get something they don't need or they can't afford. That's the last thing you want to do. But I think most people that work in these agencies are really good helpers and they want to help people. And so learning to ask those questions so they can help someone.
I really, really like that approach. I love to listen to understand. And then Sarah, what would you say to a person for whom they feel very conflict averse? It makes them nervous. They break out in a cold sweat. How would they start to build their business savvy to be able to handle these objections with a little bit more ease?
I think, you know, going over the objections that we even talked about, just thinking about what they can object to and like coming up with an idea in your head so that you are at least a little bit prepared. You know, if they do object to you, so you're not just totally caught off guard and stumbling over your words. I mean, we gave you some slides there with them. You can feel free to steal any piece of it that you like, but think of like what they ask you, what they've thought of in the past, or like how you can just sort of set yourself apart to be able to the more you do it, the easier it becomes to answer those questions.
I agree. I always feel like nervousness is bred from novelty. And so when we do something more, we become less nervous while doing it. I've really learned so much from each and every one of you. I'm sure everyone else on this call has learned so much from you. Eugenia was speaking to us about social media, which is a great segue into our next session on video marketing and using that for recruitment and getting more sales. So if you were interested and piqued by what she was saying, you're going to want to stay tuned and see us in just a little bit. Thank you so much, ladies, for your time and your expertise. Thank you to everyone who's attended. We look forward to seeing you in about 15 minutes. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.